Are you dreading your next home repair? Don't. Crew Pros is your one-call solution for everything your home needs. Whether it's heating and air, plumbing, complete roof replacement, whole home generators, and electrical repairs, our professionals get the job done right. Crew Pros is your single source for high-quality home services at affordable prices. For everything your home needs, Crew Pros. Remodel, repair, replace.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eyes no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901, presented by the good people over at Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. We are into the off season, and so it didn't go as long as we thought it might go, right? Into the regular season, into the postseason. So we're having to make do of this postseason and the off season right now, right away. And so honestly, this was a put together thing where we're trying to figure out what day we're going to go. Can we go live? Because that's probably our most favorite thing to do is actually go live with all the people. And so we're going to try to be here every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Central. And so thank you for joining us. But I am your host. As always, I am Daniel Greer. And you know the other guy that's with me.
We're gonna have quite the opening clip for that. Yeah. My face is what I think it was. A little bit of a oopsie. We're not used to doing this with the sun still out, so it's a little bit different for everybody.
Yeah, it's a little different. Sun's not out here. Obviously, I'm more local, but you know what? I pushed the button and realized, oh, whoops! I'm supposed to get us out of here and actually start the intro. But either way, we have a fun night together that we're going to have. It's going to be some segments that we're going to bring into this. We're kind of actually try to segment this show as much as possible. That way, everybody is aware of what we're talking about. We can do a little bit more segments and actually give you topics that we're going to discuss, because this isn't a post-game show where we're trying to just wing it, right? As soon as coming off the game, off the high, you're trying to go in and create the content. We're still going to have a lot of fun. So tonight we're going to first hit on a season recap, right? We're going to go through the season a little bit, the highs and lows, and talk a little bit on a brief way. We're not going to dig in too far. This isn't an hour, 2 hour long podcast. We're going to hit on the fun stuff and kind of just give our little bit of us, you know, and how we saw the season. After that, it was going to be the exit interviews. So we're going to still say exit interviews, but it's going to be the Big Bear Poke is what I'm going to deem that. And that's going to be a little bit more about Dylan. And so from there, we're going to get into a new segment, brand new segment that we're going to keep having back over and over as much as there is content. But it's going to be called the Social Media Shenanigans. And it's not going to be led by me. It's going to be led by that guy over there. He's going to give us all the social media shenanigans. Pretty much it's going to be where we're looking out in the social media world. What are Grizzlies fans saying? What do we need to talk about? And so obviously, you know, the Big Bear Poke is going to be a lot involved with all of the social media shenanigans. But let's go ahead and get into the season recap. All right. And I'm going to go straight to you, Nate, because I think it's important to kind of let you kind of lead off this. You're just kind of, you can give whatever you want. There's no grades. There's no, numbers, whatever you want to do. I'm taking the reins off
for failure.
What are your thoughts? Like, do you want to give it a grade or a number? What do you think?
No, because it'd be hard to grade the Grizzlies season. It was so up and down, and there was different expectations depending on what part of the season you're in. I think coming into the season, expectations were really high. Actually, you know what? Maybe that's not true, because I know there's a lot of people that are picking them to finish 6th seed or worse. My expectations were pretty high. I thought they would finish somewhere in that 4th, 5th section, not really in danger to play in, but that they would struggle at first and then end up putting it together, and they ended up just having a really strong first half to the season.
Yeah.
And then came out guns blazing in the game after I went to see them in January when they lost to the Suns and got demolished. After that, they went on like an 11-game winning streak. I got the one bad one. But so the different parts of the season, you're thinking, okay, they're performing an A+ based on what we expected from them. And then you had other parts of the season like the Ja night in Denver, where obviously that's a F for everybody. And then you get to the end of the season and it's like, hey, you should still beat the Lakers, but you don't have all your guys. It's like, what kind of curve are we grading this on? So it's too hard. I think the best way to talk about their season is to just summarize that as being the season. Just an absolute roller coaster ride. Yeah. I mean, it was, to quote Will Ferrell in Kicking and Screaming, we were all a tornado of swirling emotions throughout the season. It was just brutal. I mean, you had, like we said, the Ja stuff, but then they performed really well. Then you had Adams, and it looked like him and Ja were going to be able to come back just in time for the playoffs, and then Adams never came back.
You're right.
BC towards Achilles. Dylan had some hero stretches, and then he turned into the playoff version of Dylan. And it was just, that's it. The Grizzlies season was just, there was no stability whatsoever. And I think that showed a lot in the playoffs. But I think a lot like Giannis said, I don't think it was a failure. You learned a lot about your team, and you learned what you needed. And I think that them having their first bad ending to a season since Ja Morant and Taylor Jenkins have been at the helm is going to be good for them in the long run. Sucks right now. Terrible right now. But in the long run, it's like, hey, we have actual scars now. We talked about this on the post-game show after Game 6. But they didn't have any real scars. It wasn't like anything was there that really burned them from past playoff experience, it felt like. Now they have real scars. Now the front office has scars. Like, hey, you heard Zach Kleiman, we shouldn't have tripled down on youth, or should we have tripled down on youth? The coach has scars. The players have scars.
Yeah.
It's going to be good for them in the long run. But, it made the season not so much fun.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree. As Luke says, he wants to give him a big old incomplete.
Right.
That's really what it is, right? It was just an incomplete grade, an incomplete season. When I look at this, man, it's tough because when you have a record of 51-31, you're the second in the West. You have a home win record of 35-6. But then, like all that sounds good. And then you look at the away record of 16-25, and I think that tells a little bit more about the season, is that 16-25. Look at the other number, like I just talked about, 35-6. You're talking about one extreme to the other. And that's where you get your highs and your lows, your roller coaster. The growth out of some players, the growth out of Desmond Bane was awesome to see. Looking back from the very first, from really the offseason to the Santi stuff, Santi, I know he didn't end the season well, and he was a defensive liability. He was the leading scorer in the last playoff game. Santi being a rotational player, just in general, is shocking. But it's also a credit to him. And as Black Lives Matter says, is that the big three, they all took a step up. That's important because Jaren, man, the leap that Jaren took had you salivating at times that he won the Defensive Player of the Year, right? But then you get to the point where he's in the playoffs and he just has this incredible game one, and you're like, oh my God, you're losing your mind. You take the loss, but then you're losing your mind thinking this is a possibility. This is who Jaren could be. And man, you're just left with so many questions and so many regrets. But all in all, a lot of people took step forwards, but the off the court stuff really just kind of took control of this season. And that's the part that sucks.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about the other burning subject at hand. But there's too many distractions.
Right.
There's too many distractions, and it took away from stuff like Santi Aldama having the season he had, Xavier Tillman having the season that he had. You had other guys step up. David Roddy had a really good rookie season.
He did.
And you had lots of good things happen. Jaren learned how to dominate, even though it disappeared in the playoffs. you never expected him to be a huge advantage in the playoffs going against Anthony Davis, right?
Yeah.
But he took the steps to learn, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute. But in the exit interview, he said the right things around that. We'll wait for that. We'll wait for that to get to the exit interview part. But he said some really good stuff there. I think Grizzly fans should be happy to hear. Lots of really good things happened this season for the Memphis Grizzlies, but it was all overshadowed by the offseason distractions and that roller coaster. But lots of good to take into the offseason.
Yeah, there is a lot of good because realistically, man, you can always pull out bad in anything. But on the flip side, you can always pull out the good and everything. And so we're going to embrace the good. We always talk about the silver linings, right? But we're always going to be honest. The off-the-court issues trump everything. No matter what good you did on the court, it somehow got taken away by the BS that happened off the court this season. And that's the part that sucks. This team played well and incredible. They were injured at times, and they had so many issues, so many things that would pop up, but they always fought back. This team was always really good. This is a really good team. But the off-court issues always just kind of punched them in the mouth. It sucked.
Yeah, they bled into or onto the court as well, right? The off-season or the off-court issues didn't stay off-court. They led to on-court issues. And that's the problem. When you're not performing on the court, that's when it becomes a real problem, right? At the end of the day, we want these guys to have great lives. We want them to all have awesome lives outside of basketball. What we really see, though, and what we're involved in and what matters ultimately to us as fans is what's going on the court. We don't see enough of their off-court lives, or we don't. It's bad usually if we do to really know. And so when it bleeds on in the court is when it starts coming out like it did this year.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, all right. Listen, I don't know what else you want to hit on the season in general. Yeah. I think we're so far from that. And honestly, I'm more excited to get to this other stuff.
Let's get to the exit interviews.
All right. So the exit interviews, obviously that was more of going to be the conversations between Zach Kleiman, all in all. I know he talked about, I can't believe that, I still think that, did we really need to go all in on the youth? I think that was a big statement that he made. Man, I just, I don't know. All right. So real quick, Black Lives Matter asked the question.
We're doing it at the end. That's
favorite regular season moment.
We're going to end the show on that. Yeah.
All right. Let's do that.
It's a great positive end.
Look at you.
What could easily get derailed when we get to the main course of this podcast.
Look at this synergy that y'all have, and I'm not even a part of it. All right. So we were talking about Zach Kleiman and what he's talking about mainly. And man, it's just, you hear those comments, and then you hear the comments of the players about how they all take responsibility and they all have to be better and they have to learn from mistakes. What Ja is saying, really, and pretty much, there's a lot that they're saying that everybody is saying, and it sounds so good. Like, it sounds like these guys are really, these are a business decisions. These are decisions that they're making about, like, they're being grown-ups in a sense. Like, they're putting their big boy pants on and making good, hard decisions and seeing it the right way. So it is what it is. I just think that the exit interviews were very big for the future. And I think as Black Lives Matter that said that. Yep, here it is. Phase 2 has officially begun for the Grizz next gen. Even though I did see his tweet earlier. I'm watching. I saw your tweet. Then I saw the two people that you included. I'm watching you. I agree on one. As you know, I don't agree on the other. All right. So what are your thoughts on any exit interviews?
I'm not positive about what you're talking about, but
he
the exit interviews themselves.
So he included all the guys. Like phase 1 was, your slow-mo, Jay Crowder. I can't remember who the other person was. Melton, Kyle, and then he included Jitty and Tyus as phase 1.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get to this, but let's not do the Jay Crowder thing again this year, my friends. The main thing. Let's go to the first one before I forget. Jaren. Jaren's exit interview was a lot along the lines of what you like from a lot of different people, which was saying the right things which is, hey, I need to be better. You heard Ja talk about how he needs to be better as a leader. Taylor talk about how he needs to be better. Kleiman, I need to be better. Desmond Bain, we have no work. Like, that dude stays in the gym. Don't have to worry about that guy trying to get better. What I really liked about Jaren's exit interview was the way he phrased it was much more specific than what you get in a lot of those exit interviews. When he was talking about what he was going to work on, he was like, hey, I'm going to work on stuff that I know I will use in game, that I can go to every night to help my team, and not something that I might try 5 times in a season. And it told me, one, he's going to be focused, but two, the way he phrased it let me know he was going to be focused on something really specific. The way he phrased it, in my opinion, which was he's going to go work on getting more comfortable in the post. When he says, I'm going to go work on something I know I can get to every game on every possession, that tells me he's not trying to get the ball at the top of the key and drive. He's not trying to launch a 3. He's like, what killed me in this past series and what did allow AD to kill us? And it was his comfort in the post and something that he knows can't be guarded. And Jaren even said, but I need to be more unguardable.
Yeah.
All that tells me Jaren's going to be working on that post game, which has been for 2 years a thing. We're like, hey, what's going to unlock Jaren? And it is being able to just work in the post and be comfortable. All he needs is a little baby hook.
Yeah.
And
honestly, like, to his credit, he hasn't had that off season in the last 2 years.
Of course.
He hasn't had the off season to actually be healthy and work on it the right way. And so, like, that's the thing is, like, I'm excited about that he got out of the season unscathed. You know, there's no major injuries that we're aware of. I think he's out sipping on a margarita right now, or a Mai Tai, or something. You know, one of those like nice drinks. Mojito.
My go-to beach drink, Painkiller. The drink of the 80s. God, I love a good painkiller. Except for I sub tequila in it. You try and get Hornitos and call it a horny killer. Ultimate beach drink. If someone here hadn't had a painkiller, just believe me, it's awesome.
All right. Black Lives Matter. We're gonna hit on. I want to hit on that actually a little bit later, but we'll say that to the social media stuff. We'll consider you part of the social media shenanigans down here in our comments.
Oh man.
Let me star this before I get away from the Jitty comment.
All right, well, I'll keep going on my exit interviews then.
Yeah, go ahead. What exit interview stuff you got left?
I liked what I heard from guys in general. Ja, I need to be better. Taylor, I need to be better. The Kleinman one, I mean, this has been hit on a million times by everybody under the sun that covers the Grizzlies. I don't think there's a ton of reason to hit on it, but it is worth saying that's exactly what you want to hear. Exactly. That sounded a lot more like, hey, we're looking to win than we're looking to develop. Because looking to develop bit them in the ass this year.
Yeah.
It just did. And Kleinman knows that. But the recognition of, hey, this was a misstep, here's how we're going to be better, is not something you hear from a lot of people. A lot of people have doubled down in direction. I think it speaks to the empowerment Robert Pera has given the front office, which speaks to the empowerment they've given the coaching staff and in turn the players. And I think that is in a day where the culture has been criticized and attacked from a lot of different angles, speaks to the culture of why this team has been so successful so quickly and why they will continue to be successful even after a rough season.
Yeah.
So I was super excited by that because it tells me that they saw exactly what we saw, which is this team is just too young and we need very specific pieces.
Yeah. Black Lives Matter was talking about the exit interviews, and his biggest thing was Ja addressing, the team and needing a more versatile offense with more motion, and just kind of getting away from that simple pick and roll style offense that we were running so much. Like, it was mainly just Steve-O coming up for a Ja and Ja getting around that and just kind of maybe holding off the defender, getting a floater up or getting straight to the rim. That obviously can still be in your arsenal, but you need to have more. There needs to be more ball movement. I think this year was the first year they all kind of like looked back and was like, okay, we need to just do some things differently. And it was, a lot of it was out of necessity, right? When you have, why does the offense flow so much better when Tyus is out there? There's a reason. It's because the ball moves. And so I think Ja finally seeing that and kind of growing up a little bit after that night in Denver. I think is going to help their offense in general, their game, because you're going to start seeing that he can depend on Desmond Bain, but also Jaron Moore. I don't think coming into the season, Ja felt like he could depend on those guys and they could be the go-to players. And I do think going forward, we're going to have more of a motion style offense, but still the ball will be in Ja's hands late in games, 100%.
Well, and I think what you'll see is that becomes a huge offseason focus, is tinkering with that to figure out, okay, how do we have that motion, but still, Ja, you're the guy.
Exactly.
Because when Ja is aggressive is when this team is at its best.
Exactly.
And that can't, what we saw at the end of the season, which was to be expected after the way Jaron was performing with Ja out, was, okay, they can't really figure out how to function with Ja being at his best and the team doing what they were doing with him out. They're going to have a whole offseason to work on that and figure out, okay, what works, what goes. And it's all different once you get into actual game action to tinker with it and see how is it going to play out in an actual game. But for them to have a whole offseason to know that's a goal and then to work to achieve that goal is going to be big and pay big dividends for them. And, Ja and Taylor are going to be working together, figuring out exactly how to do that and what works and what Ja feels comfortable with, meshing it with the team and what they do with him off the court. So, that
I agree.
All things to be excited about with the exit interviews. The only thing not exciting is the fact that we had to have exit interviews this early.
I agree. It was an extra interview, like bonanza in a sense, like where you kept getting a little bit of information, tidbits out of each one. You're like, man, I love that. That sounds so good. Like I'm glad we hear that instead of like the other BS that there's no substance there to it. I'm glad there's some substance to the exit interviews because it shows that they're maturing a little bit. And honestly, as any relationship is, somebody that you see, we're all in a relationship together with the Grizzlies in a sense. Like we see it from this side of things. We're glad that what we see, they're also like verbalizing as well. And they're saying, hey, we see it too. We're all, we understand. And it's not because of what the fans say, but they're doing it internally. And I think that's a big thing that we can say is the front office, they kind of see exactly what they should be seeing, and they're saying the right things. Whether or not they actually act on it, we'll know. We'll obviously see. But another big thing that this is a pet peeve of mine is like speaking in facts about things that we don't actually know are kind of factual. And I know that has probably kind of, you're like, all right, what's he talking about? A lot of us fans are always talking about the coaching staff. They don't do this, or the front office just didn't go out and try to get somebody in free agency. And sometimes you end up hearing a little bit of a bird in your ear, and you're like, oh, maybe they did try those things in practice, but the team, whatever, wasn't as accepting of it or couldn't figure it out. So my goal, and I know this will never happen, but as fans, if we could just somehow just do our best to give the coaching staff and the front office a little bit of credit and maybe think that they are trying things and they are trying to work on some things, give them a little bit of credit, because I think what we're hearing now is they were trying and they tried to get rid of Dillon. They just couldn't. We wanted to get rid of Dillon and they could not. They tried to go get Mikal Bridges. They could not. And they did probably more than I expected them to maybe do. We don't know exactly if that's fact, so I won't give them the credit, but I think that there's enough smoke where there could be some fire where we can say, hey, there's something there. And so on both sides of things, we don't want to give them too much credit. We don't want to, slide them at all. But I think we can kind of make sure as fans, they're adults. They seem to be smart. So we won't speak too much in facts about stuff we don't know about.
Do we want to go ahead and talk about not just the interview, but now the exit?
Let's do it. Let's go straight to the social media shenanigans. This is going to be held by Nate. Like, I do not want to. I'm part of Grizz Twitter. I'm part of social media. I do not know what direction you're going to take us, but I think that's going to be the fun part of it. Is you take us the directions that you think, and we'll try to get off. We'll try to get off as much as we can.
This guy acting like I love being on Twitter.
No, but it's going to be funnier coming from you.
No, I think you expect me to be far more prepared of a human being than I am in general. But I did prep for it a little bit once you told me I needed to. So we will see. Well, we'll get on the exit of the exit interview. If we're going to go all the way into this social media shenanigans part, then we'll just start with some easy breezy, which is Twitter is not a real place. And if you need any more proof than what happened with Jaren Jackson Jr. yesterday in his tweet, I don't know what to tell you.
That man can't even be grateful.
Twitter, you can't even be thankful without being a headline, which to be fair, even I was like, there's like no way Jaren Jackson Jr. is leaving the team. When I saw it, I was like, as social media goes, I kind of get why people went that direction, to be honest. When someone says forever grateful Memphis, I'm like, huh. But for real, it's just, if you need any more of a reminder that Twitter's not real, grass exists and you should touch it. The sun's still out and you should go look at it, but not stare for too long.
Like
That's
not
all
right
you
into
need.
it. Not right into it. Just to the side.
Dude, between that and the trade machine and free agent maestros already whirling up within a day of the Grizzlies season being ended, I was like, whoa, easy now. I like DeMar DeRozan too, but like, let's let the playoffs in before I start thinking too much about all this jazz. I mean, there have been so many DeMar DeRozan / Mikal Bridges / Jaylen Brown / who's an OG Anunoby. Grizzlies fans, like, it took them a day of the season ending to decide they want to go ahead and overpay for a guy whose value tanked at the end of the season. I'm like, they're like, yeah, 3 firsts plus Tyus plus Zaire, sign and trade DB. And I was like, he's worth maybe 2 of those picks and Dylan, who you're trying to get rid of. I'm like, why are we overpaying for a guy that like is not going to go get half of what he could have gotten,
dude,
at the deadline? People want to send more now than we were going to send at the deadline. It's insane to me. And listen, I know he's a really good defender. I'm not acting like he's not. I know he can knock down shots and he's going to play within himself much more than his predecessor. But like, why are we acting like this dude is some kind of mixture of prime Gary Payton and Ray Allen?
He's the little glove.
He's bigger and he's not as good defensively as Gary Payton was. Like, and this is not a knock on him at all. It's just the discourse around OG Anunoby. You seriously would think he's like prime 2-way Kobe in the playoffs. Right.
Like he can't go get his own shot. Like, that's not what he does.
Right. It's like he's just going to knock down a fair amount of the open shots, but he's not going to sit there and Luke Kennard knock down 50% of these threes. Like, some people I think are convinced if you pass it out to OG Anunoby, like it's automatic. I'm like, I watched the Raptors playing this year. Trust me, there were some guys on that team that looked automatic, and he was not one of them.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that dude brick threes just as much as Dylan did. The problem was Dylan bricks like 7 of them.
That's the problem. He doesn't shoot as much. So they think that he's already a net positive, but he's not. Real quick on Black Lives Matter saying is he's actually statistically the worst shot creator in the league. But then people want to say, but we have to get him, so we want to improve our half-court offense. Like, he is not a half-court offense guy. Like, he's a guy that is a good defender, and because he can knock down open shots, that's what makes him the 3-and-D guy that you want to go get. But at what cost? That's the biggest thing. Is I like him. If we could get him in free agency and just sign him, maybe we do a trade. We send him, I'd say he's worth 2 firsts. I think he's that good of a player. But what are you giving up? That's the other thing.
He just doesn't move the needle to me.
Yeah.
He just doesn't move the needle. What does he bring besides really good defense? Like average shooting, probably at best average shooting, and then no veteran presence. He doesn't bring the veteran presence you need.
Nope.
He doesn't bring the experience and the know-how. So I'm like, why are we like, if you're going to be someone the Grizzlies spend a lot of assets and trade capital on this offseason, you either need to be like Mikal Bridges level of impact, DeMar DeRozan level of skill and impact, or bring this massive veteran presence. I saw the haircut, the cool haircut and the cool name comments. I just don't care about his haircut and his name. Dylan the Villain sounded cool for a while.
So he shot the ball.
Till he shot the ball. And I just think, I seriously, I think people think OG Anunoby is going to come in and just like shoot this massive, great percentage from a massive clip from three, and it's just not the case. And he doesn't move the needle enough for me on defense to be like, yeah, that guy. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest. If you're the Grizzlies, you're winning with offense.
I agree.
You're not winning with defense. You got the two guys that have to be healthy for you to defend well, and Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson. Your wing defense just needs to be passable. Guess what? You won a bunch of games, and it wasn't passable. It was pretty god-awful. So go get guys who can get buckets and go get veterans. So I don't understand the OG Anunoby love. I mean, I could be wrong. He may come here and then shoot 45% from three, in which case I'll gladly eat crow. But yeah, I'm looking at in the comments. I would much rather get someone like a Jeremy Grant who is proven to be it's somewhat streaky, but not super streaky, really good scorer, can create his own shot, super long, and can defend well enough that you don't have to go help on his guy. Like he'll be able to stay in front of his guy. Go get someone like that. All that to say, all the trade machine and free agency stuff is like just already in full swing.
Dude,
I'm like,
it's a long off season.
I'm like, let me breathe. I need to recover. Plus, if we start talking about it now, we're going to run out of things to talk about. So that cracked me up. But the last social media thing that is sort of shenanigans, but is actually something we have to talk about is not the exit interview, but the exit.
Yeah.
Of one Dylan the Villain Brooks, which I'm glad Chris got in here just in time in the chat for us to talk about Dylan. I know he's going to be doing a little Irish jig on Dylan's Grizzlies grave.
We can't see Chris on camera, but you can probably imagine.
I can see him in my head. Yeah, the Dylan stuff. Let's talk about this Dylan leaving.
Yeah.
Before we get into the social media part. Can we just agree, like, it's not shocking or a bad move at all for them to move on from Dylan?
No, it's the smartest move
like,
that
it's
you can make.
Neither surprising nor dumb.
Yeah.
So people who are like acting surprised at all, I don't understand. That's
all right. Let's play a game real quick, okay? At what number do you bring Dylan back on? So listen, none of this happened. None of this. Like, wipe it clean. If I have the thing for the Men in Black thing, just kind of wipe your memory. What number on I guess whatever it is to bring him back, whether it's a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, 3-year deal, what's the number that you would feel comfortable bringing back?
There's no realistic number.
None.
Like, it would have to be something like
vet minimum.
Not all the way down to vet minimum. I mean, I'm thinking about Tyus is making 14. It would have to be less than that. You'd have to go down to 10 to 12 to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say 8 to 10. I would feel comfortable bringing him back because then you know that you can actually slide him into the bench, and he then has to understand that I am making less money, so you'd be able to do that. But even then, like at that point, you honestly, he's on the same team with the same coach. You can't just be a starter and be a guy that's a big player on this team and then come back the next season. Then all of a sudden, magically, in your supposed prime, you're now a bench guy and you're just took a completely step back. Like that's embarrassing as a player.
Dude, you see Tank Top Jimmy over here in Madison Square Garden in the all red.
No, I'm talking to you right now. I'm not watching the game.
I'm not listening to you, and it looks awesome. Shout out to Jimmy Butler. The thing is, Dylan does not need to be on this team. He just doesn't. And so that's why I say there's no, like, it's not a realistic question, because what number would I give for a guy that I don't think best fills the need? And if they don't get a replacement, then obviously that's a much different conversation, right? But as stands, I can't imagine they won't go find a replacement. If nothing else, you plug Luke Kennard in, play him. You just say, hey, we're just going to have to score a lot more than everybody else. And guess what? You will.
Yeah.
But
and you just make your bench better. Hopefully.
The Dylan thing just, You saw what happened in the playoffs. He's not going to take a lesser role on that team.
No,
he's just not going to accept a lesser role. And even with him taking less shots, it doesn't matter when you get to the playoffs and they just leave him wide open like that. And you saw in the last game, I actually thought he did a better job of driving and getting to the bucket, getting to the mid-range. That's what you want to see more of from him. And let's be clear, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Dillon get a change of scenery, drop all this baggage, and thrive somewhere else. Everyone talking about him being on the Shanghai Knights. There are much, much worse players in the NBA than Dillon Brooks. But
you can't talk this much as a role player. You can't.
Well, Daniel, if you shut up and let me get there.
How long are you gonna go, man? I'm trying to talk too.
I thought this was my segment.
You're supposed to throw it
Daniel.
back and forth. Tennis.
But you should have known better when you gave me that. That wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, you're about to get fired.
We're getting there. But with Dillon, I wouldn't be surprised to see him do well on another team. But his comments, and I was just about to get it back to you, bro. His comments in that Michael Cole piece were genuinely shocking to me about how he thought he should have more plays drawn up. He was just a 3-and-D guy here, but he's so much more. That was one, shocking. Two, told me everything I needed to know. That guy did not need to be on this team anymore. Yeah, that's it. That's all I had to say. I was going to leave it open-ended for you to then address it how you would.
Sorry, I didn't realize you're done. I thought you were going to go to the next chapter. All right, our social media shenanigans.
No, I was going to let you respond and then get to my next chapter after you're done with whatever boring words you want to throw into that microphone.
Yeah, we're gonna work on this segment. I fell asleep twice. All right. So I agree. I agree with that completely. So I just think that there was a number that you can bring him back on. But even if you were to bring him back at that special perfect number, I still don't think you can't find a place on him. He can't take a demotion and come back and be in his proverbial prime and actually come back and join this team. That's not possible. The Shanghai stuff, I think that's just funny. They're poking the bear now. But I do think that he can be a good player in this league. I really do. But we thought that about this team. I don't think that's in him. I think the only chance it's in him is if he finds a Jay Crowder role, such as 2-3 years ago, right? So Jay Crowder is a guy, he's all defense and he can hit some shots, but mainly it's all about him being a defensive vet, right? And he's taking minimal money. Like Jay Crowder's not making a big bag. Like that. That's the only option I see him in the future. Not now. Not this contract he's about to sign.
I mean, I hate this because I love Dillon. He has to go to a bad team if he wants to be the player he's saying.
100%. Especially if you want to get paid $25 million. I don't think anybody's paying him $25 million. But even if they do get $20 million, he's going to go to somewhere like the Rockets, who have so many players that are low money that they're trying to get some vets around them, some guys who play defense around them, right? And so you can go ahead and give him $20 million because they have extra money to burn because the rest of their team makes up 60. And he's going to try to go off, and it's not going to work there. Any team is going to be paying him $25 million a year. That's what he's looking for, right? Right.
That's $2 million less than Jaren Jackson Jr. There is no way in God's green earth someone pays Dillon Brooks $25 million. If you do, it's purely to have the entertainment circus and try and put butts in seats. Yeah. $25 million?
No, listen, it's dumb. All right, so Chris asked a question. Y'all think he takes a prove-it deal and ring chases with the Suns, the Warriors, whoever, right? All right, so
teams taking him.
First things first. I think that the Grizzlies are just as good as those teams, and I think most teams would. They have some vet leadership, right? And they have some really good players, superstars. I think he really likes the guys on this team much better than he would these other guys. He's not going over there and making any kind of money. He would make more money with the Grizzlies. So there's no way that he would go do that if he could have made more money here with a team that he actually likes. and have the same potential to maybe grab a ring, because the Suns, I don't think the Suns are winning a ring this year. Looking, especially now Chris Paul's out. What games was it? 3 and 4 for sure. I can't remember if it was 3,
to
4,
the end
5.
of their season.
Yeah, I think he's done. Maybe the Warriors, right? But still, they don't want him. They just don't. But
Dude,
even then, you make less money going to the Warriors for sure.
Do the Draymond swap.
Oh my God.
If Dylan ends up going to one of those teams, he's taking 10 mil or less. And if you're the Warriors or the Suns with the kind of money they're spending on guys, are you going to go spend even 15 million on Dylan?
Yeah.
For a guy that you really don't want to play? There's no way. They just saw what happened. Everybody in the free world just saw what he did in the playoffs.
100%.
Like, if he ends up on one of those teams, it's because he signed, I would say, for 10 mil a year max, because he couldn't find anything anywhere else.
Yeah.
But
I
what
think
I
it's a
saw
one-year
from his
deal.
comments, what I saw from his comments today is he would much rather take 20 million and go get a bunch of meaningless buckets for the
100%.
Rockets than he would go play
100%.
for a contending team.
And the reason is because, one, he wants to prove, that's his prove it deal. He doesn't care about winning, guys. He doesn't. Like, okay, I don't want to speak in facts. I don't think he's the type of player. I don't think Dylan's the type of player that wants to say, hey, I'm going to go win a ring and put it back in your face. He's going to say, I'm going to go get paid because I told you I was worth that. And then I'm going to go put up 22 points a game, and they're never going to win but 15 to 18 games. Like, and it's going to be horrible. Like,
Well, and it's not to say Dylan's a bad guy, but his comments and that the Michael Cole thing, again, I was genuinely shocked at how delusional that was.
yeah.
Truly. I mean, I was like, dude, you're taking the second most shots on the team in the biggest games of the year and not delivering.
Yeah.
But you're going to complain about not getting more stuff drawn up for you. It's like, dude, what do you want drawn up besides a wide open three?
Yeah.
With a lane to your mid-range bucket. I mean, what else do you want? Truly.
Yeah.
So the Dylan thing, I've loved Dylan. I've been a Dylan defender. I don't expect everybody else to love Dylan. It was one of the easiest decisions in my mind for the Grizzlies front office to make it since their tenure. It was time for
It was way overdue.
Which leads me to the social media part, which is I don't understand why people are like insistent on just hating the dude. I get getting your jokes off. That was always going to happen. I don't understand people who genuinely are like hate everything Dylan has done since he's been in Memphis. I don't think that's fair at all.
No.
More so than that, I don't understand why people are sitting there trying to trash the Grizzlies for not bringing him back and acting like there's any chance in hell the Grizzlies were the ones that said under
Zero.
any circumstances. Like, what are we talking about? Like, let's talk about Kendrick Perkins for a second. Is there anything, the only thing less surprising than Perk flip-flopping in the course of 3 days on his Dylan Brooks discourse is the fact that he has Honey on set, ready to roll. That's the only thing less surprising than him flip-flopping. And again, Twitter and ESPN, not real places. You can throw ESPN right in with the Twitter basket. What are we talking about?
Real quick. All right. So a lot of people have asked this that are probably on the outsiders, right? I think all Grizzlies understand that our front office does not talk at all, especially to Shams. But as some people are saying, his agent, why would his agent, why would Dylan Brooks, why would his friends, anybody on that side, why would they actually put that out? Why?
Why would you call LeBron old and say I poke bears when you're shooting 20% from three? Like, that's the thing that's crazy. We just got done hearing all about how wild Dylan Brooks talks. And then we're all going to act like we'd be shocked if he went out and said something wild about not getting the contract he wanted. You know, it's just insane to me that people would act like the Grizzlies front office would say that. It benefits them in no way to say something like that. And it doesn't benefit Dylan either. Except for maybe it does benefit Dylan in Dylan's mind, right?
So getting rid of Dylan and saying and then making a statement, and this is me playing devil's advocate. I think this is going to be the fun part of it. Like you're looking at it on this side. If I am the front office and I have made the statements already and I've said what I've said to the point of we were stupid, we were immature, we had a lot of issues in the off the court. If I am the front office, do we try to, I guess, make him a scapegoat? And I know that Black Lives Matter said that earlier. In a sense of you're saying you're putting him out there and saying, hey, listen, we're not going to be like this type of player. Okay. And maybe you don't put out under no circumstances. And the only way you would is because you're saying, hey, I don't want to have this type of player on the team, somebody who is going to run their mouths and honestly get the locker room and social media and the media in general and make it like a toxic place. Maybe that's why they say that is they're making a stand and saying, hey, under no circumstances are we going to allow this type of player on the team. Is that an option at all?
I mean, yeah, but also no. I mean, yeah, it's possible, but I don't think the Grizzlies want to do anything like that, right?
Okay.
Unless there's been some wild stuff happening behind the scenes. And they're like, hey, we are going to prove a point, and it's something that is a lot more public to the league. There's no way they say that unless there's something going on we don't know about that everyone that matters in the league also knows about.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's like, it's great for headlines. I don't think it changes anything as far as the Grizzlies off-season trade and free agency pursuits.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. They're smarter than that. Dylan's not smarter than that.
I agree.
And again, none of us is saying that Dylan's some bad guy. For all intents and purposes, he seems like he's an involved father, person who wants to joke around, who wants to be a good person. It's just talking about purely when it comes to basketball decisions. Dylan's got a pretty recent track record of making less than wise basketball decisions.
Listen, people have done dumber things when they get fired from jobs. Okay. Much dumber things. In a sense, if you look at this, I know that he didn't have a contract moving forward and they possibly tried to extend him during the season as the reports have come out. And maybe they finally said, hey, listen, we're not going to meet your demands and we're not going to offer you a contract. Maybe it's time we're just going to part ways. And that's not really what he wanted. Right. And he kind of he could have said things that he maybe didn't mean. And that maybe that's what it comes down to is he's saying things that he probably shouldn't say. And maybe he is taking it that way. Under no circumstances are we going to bring you back. And maybe it was a conversation, the front office saying, under no circumstances are we going to have that in our locker room anymore. And he took it as him. I'm not going to be this circumstance.
Under no circumstances will we pay you $25 million, which is fair.
It could be taken out of context so much, but I just want to kind of just hit on both sides of it. I think it's fun to kind of be on both sides and kind of talk through things and see if we can understand it as fans and as whatever media we want to be of. I think it's good to be to talk through different decisions and talk to the biggest things, especially right now. That's the buzz on social media. It's crazy.
Yeah, and again, I don't want there to be so much Dylan hate out there because I don't think that's fair to a guy who gave a whole lot to this organization. Has been a huge part of what they've been building and are continuing to build.
Yeah.
I also don't understand why people are going nuts over letting him go. So all of it's nuts. And again, Twitter and ESPN, neither one of them are real places.
None of these places are real, but what is real is us. If you have a second, give us a subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube over at Bluff City Media. We're still trying to get to 1,000. Right? I've had that goal. I thought that the postseason would last longer, but it didn't. Give us a rating and a review over on our podcast. But I want to say, first of all, thank you so much. We turned off the show last Friday night, and my God, I've said words that was that can't be said on here, and it was a celebration in a sense of we never would have imagined we'd have had that many people watching and kind of being fans and hanging out with us after a game like that, after the season like that. at 1 a.m. But after having over 90,000 views, listens, all that combined, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's really just supported us and kind of just had fun with us. And so that 90,000 number, that's the biggest number I've ever seen in my life. And so that was that was pretty cool to see that. And you're like, oh my God, 90 is big.
For a guy who can barely count into double digits, I'm sure that was shocking for you.
Yeah, I haven't got up to 90. That's a lot. That's high. That's high. All right. So real quick, what's going on with this game? Because Jalen Brunson, onions. Oh, a 3.
They're crushing it. They got about 4 offensive rebounds. A couple of them were courtesy of the Scott Foster effect. But fun game there in Madison Square Garden.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We're not going to spend too much time, but if you can, subscribe, rate, and review. We've got a lot of things and changes coming. You got more? Let's hold them off.
We made a promise. We made one promise to Black Lives Matter. We were going to end the show.
Oh, let's go back to his. I starred. All right, you're saying that Jitty needs to go.
No, that wasn't what it is. We can talk about that later. Who cares about that? Sorry.
I was going to
favorite regular season moment.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Come on, man.
I'm off. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Favorite regular season moment. Yeah, go ahead.
The David Roddy game, dude. David Roddy coming in and sparking a comeback win over the Dallas Mavericks in the fourth quarter was everything that is good in the world for me as a Grizzlies fan. And one, it's cool always when you have the role guy. You always have like a role player game.
Yeah.
Like X had his role player game in the playoffs. But then David Roddy as a rookie coming in and just no fear launching that comeback was amazing. And for me, I think it's a huge moment for what could be a massive role player for the Grizzlies for years to come, and can be a part of not just this phase of the rebuild, but next level Grizz? Not next gen.
Next gen.
That now it's next level Grizz is something I saw out there today. Grizz next level. That was far and away the most fun I've had watching a basketball game this year, seeing David Roddy go off.
I like it. Was it this season that Ja put up, was it 52 against the Spurs?
That was last season.
Last season? God, they all run together. I was trying to think of the different moments that I was actually there.
He annihilated Pirtle again. He put him on the pressure.
I know.
He really annihilated Jalen Smith.
Yeah. I was trying to think of different moments, and I was trying to think of the games that maybe I was at where I can remember the ones in person. But I will say that I don't know if there's a special moment, man. I don't know if there's anything that just kind of sticks out to me right now, just kind of being put on the spot. I'd have to think about it. But my favorite moment is probably being wrong about Jaren in a sense. I made comments early in the season that I kind of, said he wasn't a smart player, and I think he finally became a smart player. But I would say that Jaren kind of carrying us that moment. That's what we'll do. We'll call it a moment of the season. For me is when Jaren kind of carried us and kind of just, you could kind of see him go to the next level, because early in the season, Jaren was Jaren. Jaren was doing okay. He was fine. But eventually, Jaren just kind of took over and became a man and learned to kind of use his body and to kind of take over games. At that moment, that was probably my favorite time, because then I saw it. I've always seen it, but then it was like as crystal clear as it could be. Like it's kind of foggy. When you go outside, it's a little hot. Your glasses fog up a little bit, and then all of a sudden you pull them back and they unfog, and you're just like, oh, that is what he looks like. And I don't wear glasses. I just have sunglasses. But yes. That's what it reminded me of is when he kind of became that dude and just kind of, I guess, grew up a little bit. It was when Bane went out, correct? That's when he started kind of ascending a little bit. It's when Bane got hurt and he started ascending. And that's when he became an all-star. That was the moment, because when Bane got hurt and went out, and that's really where I saw Jaren kind of take off. So it was awesome. Yep.
That, and when Ja went out, I mean, he carried the team basically while Ja was out. It was awesome to watch. That dunk over AD was nice. We'll have that just in our back pockets whenever we need a little bit of copium.
Exactly. And Chris even said this, and I forgot about this. I was screaming during this game. That Luke Kennard 10 3-pointer game was awesome. Like that probably was one of my top moments of the year as well.
Oh man, I missed that. I was eating steak and drinking Blanton's, where luxury meets affordability, in Jackson, Wyoming during that game. So I had a great night myself, but wish I could have seen both.
All right, well, let's get out of here. It's been fun. We're gonna be back here next Tuesday night, same time. We're gonna be here every Tuesday for the rest of the season, rest of the year, the off season, and make sure that kind of stay tuned in. And we're gonna be bringing you different kind of shows. We're gonna bring on different guests, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it throughout. We've already mapped out a little bit of the off season, so we're gonna have all the way up into the draft, and then from there, then you have the summer league, and then we might have a time where we do more deep dives and bring on different people to kind of break it up a little bit. But every Tuesday night we'll be here at 8:00. So make kind of tune in live. It'll also be on the podcast and all that kind of good stuff. Anything else that you have, Nate?
Trade machine, Josh Hart. That's it. I got it. We're done. We'll talk about more of that during the season.
You're just gonna get one guy
in the off season. That's it. One guy. Don't need anyone else.
All right. I like it. But next week, if you want to know what we're going to hit on, we're going to hit on what is the front office saying? What are you, the fans, saying? And then the third thing is going to be, what are we saying? And we're going to hit on a little bit of the GM, the armchair GM in a sense, kind of looking at the roster in general. And so what do we think the front office is going to say? What you all are saying, right? The OG stuff, and then we're going to share a little bit of what we think about this. And so it's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to keep being able to bring on different kind of topics and kind of sharing new things with you. So if that's all you have, that's all I have. It's been a great night, our first Tuesday night of the off season. So if you have a second, tell your friends about this, and so we can kind of all hang out. And so we're trying to do this at a good time. If there's other times that you think we should be on, tell us. We're open. We're just trying to figure out what makes sense for everybody. But that's all we have. Let's have a great rest of the week. Be nice and tell your friends.